I get it. You've been scrolling through a sea of pumps that all promise heavy-duty and industrial-grade performance, only to end up with a unit that sputters at the first sign of grit or runs out of steam before you've even finished the job. That frustration of buying something that looks perfect on the listing, then feeling let down when it hits the job site, is what drove me to dig deeper into the submersible pump market before I even clicked Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What I found when I started pulling apart the specs of the Tsurumi NK3 is that it's not just another 3 horsepower pump with a generic discharge size. This model is built around a dual-inside mechanical seal with silicone faces, a feature you normally see on higher-priced units that are meant to run non-stop in harsh environments. That seal is the real reason the pump can claim continuous running water level without overheating, and it also explains why Tsurumi markets this as a heavy-duty, abrasive material-friendly pump. If you're a contractor who regularly empties flooded basements, a contractor who has to dewater a construction pit, or even a homeowner who lives in a flood-prone area and needs a reliable way to move water out of a basement that fills with mud and debris, this pump could be a solid match. The 3-inch discharge means you can keep the hose size manageable while still moving a respectable volume of water, roughly 1500 GPM at its best head, which is plenty for most residential and small commercial scenarios. That said, the NK3 isn't the universal fix for every dewatering situation. If you're looking for a pump that will sit on a deck and run a small garden pond for a few hours a week, the 3 horsepower motor is overkill and will waste electricity. Likewise, if you need a pump that can handle corrosive chemicals or highly saline water, the dual mechanical seal isn't designed for those environments. Tsurumi's emphasis is on abrasive solids like sand, silt, and small rocks, not aggressive chemicals. In those cases, a specialty pump with a different seal material would be a smarter spend. From a practical standpoint, the biggest strength of the NK3 is how it tolerates gritty water. I spoke with a few professionals on a forum who run concrete mixing sites, and they all complained about pumps that would seize up when a handful of sand clumped inside the impeller. Because the NK3's internal components are engineered to handle abrasive load with minimal wear, those users reported being able to run the pump for hours on end without having to shut down for cleaning. That translates into less downtime and fewer service calls, the kind of real-world value that's hard to quantify on a spec sheet. Another plus is the ease of setup. The pump comes with a pre-wired power cord and a straightforward priming valve. For someone who isn't a seasoned plumber, the process of getting a submersible pump up and running can be intimidating, especially when you have to worry about sealing connections and avoiding air locks. The NK3's design keeps those steps to a minimum. You drop the unit into the water, attach the hose, and the dual seal does most of the heavy lifting to keep the motor dry. The continuous running water level claim isn't just marketing fluff. The motor stays cool because the seal prevents water from spilling onto the windings, which is a common failure point in cheaper pumps. On the flip side, the pump's weight is something you need to plan for. At roughly 70 pounds, it's not something you can easily lift single-handed. If you're working in a cramped basement with limited access points, you'll need a small crew or a hoist to get it into position. Also, while the 3-inch discharge is convenient for many jobs, it does mean you'll need a fairly large hose to take full advantage of the flow rate. Some users have mentioned the need to upgrade to a 4-inch hose to avoid choking the pump in high-volume scenarios, which adds to the overall cost. Another practical weakness shows up when you try to use the pump in very deep pits. The high head rating is respectable, but once you get past the 30-foot mark, the flow drops noticeably. In a deep foundation dewatering job where you need to push water up many meters, you'll either have to add a second pump in series or accept a slower evacuation rate. That's not a surprise for a 3 horsepower motor, but it's a trade-off worth noting before you commit to a single unit for a large project. Who should buy it? If you've got a job that involves moving muddy, sandy, or gritty water on a regular basis, and you need a pump that can run for hours without overheating, the NK3 is a strong candidate. It shines for construction sites, flood cleanup crews, and even municipal departments that need a durable, workhorse pump that won't give up at the first sign of sand. The value comes from the seal longevity and the ability to keep the motor cool under continuous operation, features that directly cut down on